On December 2, 2022, in a hangar in Palmdale, California, the United States revealed a bomber to the world for the first time in more than 30 years. But watch how they did it, because it tells you everything. They didn't roll the aircraft all the way out. They stopped it halfway, on purpose, so the back of the plane stayed hidden. Guests weren't allowed to bring a single phone inside. Every camera in the room needed a government-approved lens. And here's the part that should genuinely surprise you. Right now, in 2026, years after that reveal, with this bomber already flying real test missions, the Air Force still has not told the public how fast it flies, how far it can go, or even how many engines it has. This is the B-21 Raider, and today we're showing you everything America has allowed the world to see, and exactly why the rest is still locked away. To understand why this aircraft is treated like this, you have to go back to the last time America revealed a stealth bomber. It was 1988, and Northrop Grumman unveiled the B-2 Spirit in that very same Palmdale facility. An Aviation Week reporter named Michael Dornheim chartered a small Cessna, flew directly over the site, and photographed the underside of the aircraft from above. Images that revealed stealth details the Air Force never intended anyone to see. Northrop Grumman never forgot that lesson. So 34 years later, when it was finally time to reveal the B-21, they controlled absolutely everything. About 600 people received a golden ticket invitation, including the Secretary of Defense and lawmakers from both parties. The aircraft was lit from the front, bathed in blue light, and towed out just far enough for cameras to see the nose and the wings, and not 1 inch further. Northrop's own CEO, Kathy Warden, said something that told you exactly how they were thinking. "The next time you see this plane," she said, "it'll be in the air, not on the ground, where a camera could catch what they didn't want caught." So what did those cameras capture? A flying wing. A single, seamless, triangular shape. No vertical tail, no fuselage sticking out, nothing extra for radar to bounce off of. Northrop Grumman calls it the world's first 6th-generation aircraft, and it looks like a smaller, sharper version of the B-2. That's not an accident. The company says it evaluated thousands of different designs before landing right back on the flying wing, because after 50 years of stealth research, it's still the hardest shape in the sky to detect. But look closer, and the differences show up. The air intakes sit flush against the body instead of jutting upward. The cockpit windows have no visible seams, because on this aircraft, every seam is a place radar can find you. And the name itself is a message, Raider, named after the Doolittle Raiders, the pilots who flew a nearly impossible surprise mission against Japan in 1942 in aircraft nobody thought could complete it. The Air Force is telling you, quietly, exactly what kind of aircraft this is built to be.
Here's where it gets genuinely strange. This aircraft has been flying since November 2023. A second one joined the test fleet in September 2025. And as of right now, 2 Raiders are actively flying test missions over the Mojave Desert. And yet, some of the most basic facts about it are still officially unknown. We know Pratt & Whitney builds the engines. Nobody outside the program will confirm how many. At the 2022 unveiling, reporters asked directly, and Air Force officials simply declined to answer. Unofficial estimates you'll find online, never confirmed by the Air Force, put its range at somewhere around 7,000 miles, with a top speed approaching the sound barrier. What we do know for certain is the weapons list. The B-21 is built to carry the AGM-181 nuclear cruise missile, the B-61-12 nuclear gravity bomb, and a bunker-busting version called the B-61-13 that only this aircraft will ever carry. On the conventional side, it carries cruise missiles capable of striking targets more than 600 miles away. Its weapons bay is reported to hold over 20,000 pounds of ordnance. And still, the exact shape of that bay and how it opens and closes stays completely under wraps. Here's a detail that sounds like science fiction, but is completely real. The B-21 was designed from day one to fly with a pilot or without one. The Air Force calls it optionally manned, and just this past week, in July 2026, the service finally confirmed exactly how the manned version will operate. 2 pilots, not 4 like the B-1 Lancer requires, not the larger crews older bombers needed. 2 people in a cockpit spacious enough that most of them can stand up to full height inside it. And here's the part that matters most. The Air Force isn't training brand new pilots for this aircraft from scratch. They're specifically recruiting experienced weapons systems officers and combat systems officers, people who already know how to fight from inside an aircraft under pressure, and building a direct pipeline for them into the Raider program. Keeping that kind of combat experience in the cockpit, even in an aircraft this automated, is something the Air Force considers essential to how this bomber survives and fights. Military aircraft testing is supposed to be slow, deliberately, painfully slow. Test pilots fly first for months, sometimes years, before anyone with real combat experience is allowed anywhere near the controls. The B-21 threw that rule book out. In June 2026, an operational test pilot climbed into the B-21 and flew it, seated right next to a graduate of the Air Force's own test pilot school, years before this aircraft is scheduled to reach a combat unit. Then came the number that stunned people inside the program. A developmental test campaign planned to take 180 days was completed in just 73, less than half the time anyone expected. Northrop Grumman says the secret is digital engineering. They built a complete digital twin of this aircraft before a single physical part was manufactured, and they used the exact same tooling and production line to build the test jets that they'll use to build the combat aircraft. Every lesson learned during testing gets applied directly to jets already rolling off the line, instead of getting buried in years of redesign. Now let's talk about money, because here the B-21 tells a very different story than most defense programs. The B-2, the bomber the Raider is replacing, cost close to $2 billion per aircraft once you adjust for inflation. Only 21 were ever built. The B-21 is priced at somewhere between $690 and $750 million per aircraft, roughly a third of the cost. And the Air Force isn't planning to build 21 of these. The official target has always been at least 100 aircraft. But in early 2026, the head of U.S. Strategic Command, Admiral Richard Carrell, pushed publicly to grow that number to 145. Some Air Force planning studies have floated numbers as high as 200. If that happens, the total investment across the program's lifetime could exceed $200 billion. That's not a typo. That's the price America is willing to pay to stay ahead for the next 50 years.
So where does an aircraft this secretive actually live? The answer just became public this month. Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota has officially become the first operational home of the B-21 Raider, backed by a $2 billion infrastructure program. In the first days of July 2026, the Secretary of the Air Force personally toured the base and formally accepted its first 2 completed facilities, including one called the Low Absorption Restoration Facility. That's not a normal hangar. It's a climate-controlled building designed specifically to maintain the aircraft's radar-absorbing skin, because even routine maintenance on this bomber has to protect its stealth. Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, current home of the B-2, and Dice Air Force Base in Texas will follow. The first combat-ready Raider is scheduled to land at Ellsworth in 2027. So here's the question everyone eventually asks. Does anyone else have something like this? China has spent years working on a rival stealth bomber known as the H-20, and here's the detail that tells you everything about where things actually stand in 2026. As of right now, the H-20 has never been confirmed to have flown, not once. Its timeline has reportedly slipped into the 2030s. The general in charge of America's own bomber force put it bluntly this year, calling China's bomber capability a regional bomber force at best. Meanwhile, the B-21 is already flying real test missions, already has operational pilots in the cockpit, and is already being built on a production line running ahead of schedule.
This aircraft isn't just a new bomber. It's one leg of America's entire nuclear triad, alongside the new Columbia-class submarines and the Sentinel missile program, all being modernized at the exact same time. Whatever you think about the price tag, or the secrecy, or the decades of classified engineering behind it, one fact isn't in dispute. While the rest of the world is still trying to build something like the B-21, America has already moved on to flying it. From a hangar that hid its own bomber from cameras to a testing program breaking records nobody thought possible, the B-21 Raider might be the most secretive aircraft America has ever built in plain sight. Now I want to know from you, does this level of secrecy actually keep America safer, or does it just keep the rest of us in the dark? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications because the Hidden Muster has a lot more still locked away. I'll see you in the next one.